Joining me today is Bruce Mansfield, CEO at Eftpos Payments Australia. He'll be speaking at IR's Retail Financial Services Forum 2011, which takes place on the 27th to 28th of September in Sydney. Hi Bruce, thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
First of all, how is Australia's payments landscape changing?
Well, there certainly are a number of quite significant landscape changes that we're seeing over the last 12 months, and probably they will continue for the next 24 months. Of course, the first thing is the emergence of Eftpos. As I'm sure many listeners are aware, Eftpos Payments Australia Limited is a new company which has been tasked with managing the Eftpos payment system going forward. And that really is very good timing in the sense that it's come about at the same time as there's been quite a shift in consumer sentiment and spend from credit to debit. So we're very pleased to be able to spearhead the development and progress around debit card payments and Eftpos in Australia. I think in addition to that, we're seeing some quite interesting technology trends, particularly in the area of contactless. You've seen over the last number of years a number of pilots in the country around contactless technology with MasterCard and Visa. And whilst they are still early days, there's no doubt contactless has a very important role to play going forward. And that's probably an emerging trend and a short step for a broader change, which is, of course, the desire to move into mobile payments and the role that the handset will play going forward. So, yes, lots of changes on the landscape, both structurally in terms of what's happening within the business today, but also very much so from a technology perspective in the future. And here at Eftpos, clearly what we're doing is, of course, looking at things like chip technology, introducing that in 2012 and beyond that, contactless and mobile.
And going forwards, Bruce, what key payment developments do you anticipate occurring over the next 12 months, and how specifically should retail financial service providers prepare?
Well, the great thing about this payments business is that we continue to grow and evolve the use of payment cards as alternatives to other payment instruments. And whilst a lot of focus is always spent upon the competitive landscape between credit cards and debit cards and the respective players within that market, for us, the main focus, of course, is that the more and more we can get people to use payment cards rather than cash, I think we're all better off. Now, clearly, we're all better off if they use Eftpos, but I would expect as we move forward there'll be a further focus on cash displacement and moving into those lower value transactions below, say, $10 or $20 and having payments cards being used in that environment. Clearly, the internet is always going to be a very important part of everyone's strategy and the use of payment cards in a card-not-present environment. We have to clearly make sure that we solve the customer and merchant's needs there around security and safety and making sure that that channel is an appropriate place to shop and exchange value. So I would say that the key focus will, of course, be displacing cash, securing new channels and expanding the use of existing payment cards in new channels. And, of course, there's always going to be a continual focus on, from our perspective at Eftpos, the competitive nature of the Australian debit product versus the international debit products from Visa and MasterCard.
And specifically, what opportunities do you think exist for retail financial services in adapting to these changes?
Well, opportunities are endless. I suppose the big challenge, of course, is that as you introduce more technology and more innovation around payments technology, anyone can do that. And as you may have seen last week, there were some recent announcements around mobile wallets. And I think the opportunity, of course, is for both participants in the value chain to innovate and make sure they deliver these new products and services. Or, of course, there's also a similar opportunity for new entrants into the payments industry to say, well, I wouldn't mind coming in and innovating in those areas. So it's all about looking at your products, looking at where the products are going and what the customer and merchant demands are, and investing in what they see as the future trends around product innovation.
How is Eftpos providing an improved payments experience for the public as well as businesses?
Well, the great thing about Eftpos is Australians use it already 5 million times every day, so it's a significant part of everyday life. For us, the key focus, certainly over the next 12 to 24 months, is to move to securing the existing Eftpos product with EMV and chip technology. That platform will address an immediate need for greater security, but also the platform is there to in addition, provide the basis with which we introduce new forms of technology and innovation. So contactless will be an example. I think the chip will play a role in the card-not-present environment as well. And therefore, what we'll be seeing is that some very important product innovation which will come alongside the already recently announced changes to our pricing structure and making sure we offer a very competitive, low-cost, low-priced and fast consumer payment service for both merchants and cardholders.
You're speaking at IIR's Retail Financial Services Forum, which takes place on the 27th to 28th of September 2011 in Sydney. What key aspects will you be touching upon in your presentation, and how would you like delegates to benefit from hearing it?
Well, we're really looking forward to the conference, and I suppose the key first thing we have to make sure that the audience is familiar with is the progress that we're making at Eftpos. As many of you know, that Eftpos has been around for 30 years, but there hasn't been an organisation being channelled with the stewardship of that. So the first thing we have to do is really provide industry with an update as to what's happening in relation to the really good progress we've made over the last 12 to 24 months. Present a picture as to where our business is going and the short, medium and long-term opportunities that I've identified before. But I think it's also our responsibility to make sure we address and bring to the industry what some of the key challenges are, particularly around how we participate as competitors in this market and the role of regulation, whether it is a positive or a negative thing, but it is something that's very importantly part of our business. And we need to make sure we have a framework where all participants can treat each other fairly and compete on an open and level playing field.
Bruce Mansfield, thanks very much for your time today. We're looking forward to your presentation at the RFS Forum in Sydney in September.
My pleasure, looking forward to it also.